Hello, and welcome to the Kongversation. Mini. I'm miniature Hyle Russell.
And I'm regular-sized Jeff Onan, and I'm gonna step on you, Hyle.
Jeff.
About to step on you. I'm not wearing socks either.
I mean, that's my fetish, so I say bring it on. Rub them feet all over me. Okay, we're off to a bad start already. What we're doing here, Jeff?
That's a weird start, Hyle. I feel bad about it. And I let myself right back out the front door.
I want you to know, I was picturing the feeling of your slightly calloused nude feet, maybe with a little that's a thin sheen, by the way. I just portmanteaued that.
Yeah, the thing is, I'm not wearing socks, but I just took off the socks. So the feet are just a little sweaty.
Just a little sweaty. A little thin of Jeff sweat.
Stop trying to make thin a thing. It's not going to be a thing.
Yeah, just, if you say something like 5 or 6 times, it becomes a thing. Or a thing. But I'm just imagining that dewy Jeff feet sweat dripping into my mouth. A refreshing summer beverage, if ever there was one. I don't know what this is. This is the Everwild Eternals trailer discussion of the Kongversation Mini. And what happened, Jeff, was you were out camping. You were out camping.
I was.
Yeah,
I was
so you
camping.
missed this completely. And I'm like, Jeff, couldn't you tell your family that you were camping with, hey, I run a Golden Sands blog post. I can't go camping with you because there's going to be an Xbox game showcase on July 23rd, and I can't miss that. You couldn't say
so
that?
I wasn't camping with my family though. I was camping with my friends, my college roommates from back in the day. Although according to Kongversation canon, I'm only 17, so I must be really fucking smart to have already been done with college. But yeah, so I was camping. And actually, Wednesday is when I went to do the camping. And Wednesday was the day they were supposed to put an update for Sea of Thieves. The Ashen Winds update. And so I was freaking out. I'm trying to run a blog here, people. I'm trying to run a blog here. And the Xbox thing was on Thursday. But as it turned out, the Sea of Thieves one got delayed a whole week. So I didn't have to worry about it. And then when I got back from camping, I returned back from camping to my house. And I was like, wow, internet connection. I guess I'll watch this trailer for Everwild. And I did.
And you did. All right. Well, you see, what I do is I tell friends and family, hey, I have to run DK Vine every single day of my life. I don't have time for you. And that's what leaves me in the ruinous state you see today. Because nobody wants anything to do with me. They've all given up on me.
I mean, I trade in your mentally, emotionally ruinous state for a physically ruinous one because I just went and sat in a hole in nature and drank my body weight in alcohol.
Oh, okay. So that's how you camp. So. Survival techniques say you probably shouldn't drink yourself silly in nature. That's not something that the great woodsmen recommend.
Oh, I had this. We blended a watermelon, like 40% watermelon, 60% vodka, and it was delicious. But it was way too strong because it tasted good, but it still was a lot of vodka. And I made some margaritas. I drank about, I don't know, between 1 and 200 beers. There's no way of keeping track at this point. I made tacos, so it was great. Everyone was having a good time.
This has nothing to do with my idea of like being in harmony with nature, and it's in no way portrayed in the Everwild trailer, which I think is going to be my go-to way of communing with nature for the foreseeable future. So why don't we talk more about the Everwild trailer and less about how you drank yourself sick in the woods?
Well, I thought it was relevant because of that salamander that pukes up baby fish.
Oh, yeah?
It was basically similar to how one would puke up watermelon vodka drink. But I guess we'll move on and we'll just kind of... So, how do you want to do this? Because we could go sort of a play-by-play and describe what is this trailer. It's not a very long trailer. It still leaves a lot of questions unanswered. But we could kind of describe that for our audience, how that goes in a play-by-play kind of way.
So there was some narration to the trailer, like the very English accent, talking about the poetry of the world and the nature of the world. And then there were the scenes set against it. So why don't I just read this poetic, I don't want to say nonsense because that's like dismissive, but this poetic new agey kind of, honestly pretty close to my own spirituality, but I have to keep up the persona of being just the shithead that I am. Why don't I read that, and then we'll describe the trailer, and then we'll talk about it and what we think the game is going to be about.
Why don't instead you read that, then we'll talk about the trailer, and then what? Yeah.
So everything I just said, but you just wanted
to
make it seem like it was your idea. Okay, that's fine. That's fine. I want to make you feel like you're important, Jeff. That's why I do this, to fluff your ego. All right, I'm not going to do the accent though. I'm going to read this in my ugly American accent. So
no, do an accent, but just do a different accent. Do a new one. Make a new one.
All right. I can't do any accents, honestly. All right. I mean, I can only do my own voice. As I've aged, I'm less and less talented. That's the depressing reality of life. I was going to do like a Southern accent, like a real like full-on dirtbag hillbilly accent, but I can't even do that. So, Jeff, why don't you read it in a non-offensive accent? Offensive to your own people, of course.
Okay, let me think on it for a second. All right. Our world has a rhythm. We all sense it. But only a few truly... I feel like I'm disrespecting the trailer by doing it. So maybe regular voice was the move. Maybe that was the right way to do it.
All right, so we'll go back to my original idea. All right. Our world has a rhythm. We all sense it. But only a few truly feel it. It is found in the smallest moments, and every step of the perilous journey, in the symmetry of ritual, in the bonds we share, and in moments of stillness. It teaches us to look beyond the expected, to be a light in dark places, to seek answers, and to stand watch over our world. Our world has a rhythm. We all sense it. But only a few truly feel it. You see, what they did there is they started it with some sentences,
rhymes.
And then it ended with sentences. And that is the symmetry that they were referring to.
Yeah, it rhymes. It's like poetry.
Yeah.
What the actual things they say also coincide to what's happening on the screen while they say it.
Yeah, that's important. So I would recommend just watching the trailer and ignoring this podcast entirely.
Yeah, go to youtube.com/videos and you'll find it. I think it's the third one down.
Right.
And watch it, then come back here.
I'm sure there's a TikTok of it for all you youth out there. I'm sure you can.
Is it on Quibi? It might be on Quibi.
Oh,
it'll take you just
Quibi,
to Quibi.
Which stands for Quick Bites, which is nonsense, and that is the one streaming service I'm actively rooting to fail.
I'm rooting for it to succeed only because in their commercial, they pitched the word Quibi to just be a synonym for any 10-minute chunk of time. And I love that. I feel like there's some power in having that in our vocabulary. Like, I'll be there in a Quibi. I don't like it in terms of what it actually is as a product, and I will not be buying it.
And yet you don't like my portmanteaus, Jeff, and that just, it rips out my heart.
I'm the one with poor man toes, and they're all over your face.
But I'm the richer man for it when I gobble them up in my mouth hole. What? So, the symmetry discussion, though, I realized that the new logo, there's a new Everwild logo that accompanied this trailer. And it's all about, it's not an Ouroboros that they've incorporated into the logo, but it's its own thing.
I think it's kind of a circle of life. It's literally a circle.
Right, and it's these rustic, wavy, circular lines, but then there are three figures bound together. There is a human figure, there's an animal figure that's symbolized by this deer creature that keeps popping up in the trailer, and then there is a spirit, what looks to be this ghostly or Wrinkly Kong-esque boo folk.
It is either a spirit or a jellyfish, which is a debate that I'm not seeing enough conversation on across the internet, that it very well might be a jellyfish. Although, that having been said, the three dotted eyeballs on it, the three circles, does line up perfectly with literally ghostly spirits that appeared in the first Everwild trailer. In the scene when they approach a fallen, deceased or injured deer at the mouth of a cave with a saber-toothed tiger creature, in the bushes along the side, there are several literal spirits with three eyes or three dots on their face, just like this. So that lends credence to the argument that the logo is not representing jellyfish as like the third faction. It's possible still that third faction could be jellyfish, but we are yet to know. A lot of questions.
Now, there's also a third theory. There's also a third theory that was, I believe, debated in Congress earlier this week, that this is the three holes symbolize not a spirit, but actually a bowling ball from Connect Sports Rivals, and that Everwild will, in fact, improve on the best bowling ever on any platform. Hence the name.
Ever wild. Okay. I'm on board with that.
Right. I already did that joke.
I think that what this really does, you know what? If you can't repeat your own jokes, then why write them? That's what I really only have 4, and their ages, they're timeless. But I think that what the logo symbolizes is obviously a harmony of nature. Exactly what they talked about in the voiceover. It's kind of a circle of life, so to speak, of how humans, animals, and spirits are in balance.
Yes, and you see it repeated often in the trailer. Let's just talk about each set piece of the trailer, and they're actually linked more so than you first realize. When I watch a trailer, especially a new trailer, I'm not really processing what's happening. I'm just kind of letting it hit me, and I'm not even trying to.
It feels like a bunch of vignettes, but yes. in actuality, this one kind of did tell a through line and a story to it, sort of.
It did. So now this is called the Eternals trailer, and are Eternals? Is that the name of the people in the game?
The humans. So they say both Louise O'Connor mentioned when she was briefly on the Xbox showcase that the human characters are called Eternals, and they're people who have this innate spiritual ability to connect to nature. They also, and I want to point this out because I'll bring it up a couple times, they released a version of this trailer with audio description for people who are sightless. I assume that's what that's for. And the audio description actually says when the humans appear on screen, 3 individuals called Eternals, or something along those lines. So it's the people. The people are Eternals.
So we'll call them Eternals from here on out, because calling them humans just feels weird and upsetting.
In the line from the voiceover that is repeated at the beginning and at the end of that voiceover, our world has a rhythm. We all sense it, but only a few truly feel it. I think that's a comment on how the Eternals are special. They have a special kind of bond. I don't know. Like the difference between a Muggle and a wizard on a Harry Potter.
Yeah, although I felt more of a Star Wars through line here, where it's like the Force.
Yeah.
No,
that's a better one, yeah.
But I mean,
Isn't that the
obviously-
same kind of? I don't know.
I mean, the Force though is more connecting to nature, feeling the life force around us, and so
Sure.
I definitely got that through what was being signified here in the Everwild trailer. But it could also be just viewed from our perspective as people who like feel something when they're in nature, and those who don't, and it. I'll say more to this at the end after we're done actually going through the trailer, but I feel like this game is really the culmination of a lot of themes in Rare games. Without knowing much about what the game is going to be, I feel like thematically I have a very good understanding of what they're going
And
for.
we've got
obviously.
some speculation on what it might be like in terms of the specific gameplay, but
Sure.
yeah,
All right.
even just
All right.
what we've seen so far, definitely. All right.
Yeah, so the trailer begins with it's a lovely little shot of water droplets falling from a flower into a pond or a lake.
The voiceover on the audio description video actually opens with the Rare logo. It opens with the Rare logo in as a window into the world and its leaves before cutting to that flower bit. And in that part of the description, it says it describes it as light shining through leaves of an ancient woodland. They use the word ancient, which I found interesting. So we know that this place is an ancient place. These and we see later in the trailer there are some ruins, which also implies the ancientness of the place.
My one theory that is totally bunk and has no credence, but I'm still going to stick to this for a while, is that this game is actually about the ancients from the Sea of Thieves and where they moved on to. So I'm gonna put that little kernel into my my pile of evidence, which so far consists of that little kernel. But all right. So then we see these Eternals approaching a mountain, and I think they have they have one of the deer with them as a.
I think at the campfire scene they don't yet have any animals, but there's a bunch of little lizards around, and they are cooking some kind of food. And
hopefully not lizards.
Hopefully not lizards. But they reach out into the air. I think there's like there's a bat-like creature perched on a rock overlooking their campfire. It lets out a screech when it zooms in on the campfire, and then they raise one of the Eternals holds up some food in the air. The bat swoops in and eats it, and at that moment, all the lizards scurry away, run away. But yeah, so I don't know. Like everything in this could just be just a slice of life cutscene cinematic thing, or it all could be some kind of hint at gameplay. You know what I mean? So maybe there is some element where we can feed bats, and there's some gameplay reason for that.
It's hard to say because, in the original Sea of Thieves trailer, there was a lot of just construct designed to make a good trailer. Like the whole thing where, you can walk the plank. You can force somebody to walk the plank. That's not actually a thing in Sea of Thieves, but it just looked cool for the trailer. So, it's hard to say, like, what is real and what is just staged here. Anyway, yeah. Then we see them, I guess what's supposed to be the next day, they're scaling the mountain with one of their animals. Actually, they have the deer here. I call it deer. It's like the big leafy antler creature.
So the fandom online around Everwild has dubbed this character from the first trailer, this creature, a bloom deer. Bloom deer.
Bloom deer, right.
And
bloom
that's
deer.
what everyone is calling it.
We'll call it bloom deer. I don't like using fan conjecture names that I didn't think of, but we'll go with that because we don't know any of these animal species yet. Honestly, like they kind of remind me a little bit, which I'm only aware of this recently because the show Avatar: The Last Airbender recently came to Netflix. And so I'm actually aware of it now. Like, I was aware of it in the peripheral before, but now I actually, like, know what it's about because I've, like, seen them. I've watched it, is what I'm saying. What a normal human would say. But in that show, like, almost all of the animals are portmanteaus, actually, of different animal species. So they just like join up animals to create new animals. So that's kind of what these animals remind me of. They're taking an animal that exists in nature as we know it and combining them with some other element or some other creature to form a new type. So very Avatar. But yeah, we got the bloom deer, and then we got some other kind of creature. It's like a bunny bison. I don't know.
The people are calling it the bunny yak, but yeah, bunny bison, bunny yak.
Okay.
Yeah, and they actually in this scene, so they're leading the bunny yak up the path up the mountain, and it's hard to notice. There's a couple details that are easy to miss. One, the bloom deer is being ridden by an Eternal. There's a Eternal on that bloom deer's back, and then two, another bunny yak comes up the trail behind them, presumably being led by the third Eternal from this trio that we saw at the campfire. It's just kind of showcasing the cool creatures, I think, and as they scale a mountain.
How you can use them as like pack animals, and then we see.
Well, the other thing I wanted to say was that the first trailer never shows anything like this. This trailer, in almost every scene, the Eternals are accompanied by their pack animal, like it's they have tamed it. In the first trailer, all we see is them approaching a wild bloom deer, reaching out to try and make a connection with it. And so it definitely seems like there will be some element of wild animals and then taming and befriending or making a connection with, so then they can follow you around and you could ride them, and obviously there will be a gameplay benefit to that.
Animal buddies. Let's just say it. Animal buddies. But
animal buddies.
As they're scaling the mountain and they're going around this twisting mountain path, and there's a small rock slide and a little avalanche of rocks, and they're like, whoa, don't go any further. I really like this sequence, though. This is kind of what I wanted to see, is just scaling impressive environments and going up mountains, which is my thing. Which is my thing, Jeff. That's my thing in real life. You're
a mountain man. You're a little mountain boy.
I mean, I know how to scale mountains.
You get to the top of the mountain, you crack out your banjo, or blowing in a jug of brown water.
No, I don't. No, Jeff. When I'm in nature, my first instinct isn't to drink myself silly. That's how we differ. That is the difference between you and me. No. Look how fast I can rock climb. At least compared to Mitchell. I just
it is on YouTube.com. Yeah, it's actually the fifth video down if you go to youtube.com/videos. It's Hyle.
It's two below the Everwild trailer. It's me climbing rocks versus
It's a
Mitchell.
Year old, so it started to fall down the ranks, but it was up there.
It was the #1 video for like 10 months on the YouTubes. So then we jump forward and we see one of the Eternals is just floating on her back in a lake or a stream. And
you skipped a bunch.
No!
You skipped a bunch. A whole bunch.
I did. Fuck me. All right. All right. No, what comes next is a Eternal is marking a tree by drawing a circle around it in the dirt with a stick. And then we see a large... I call it a badger monkey. I don't know what the quote-unquote Eternal, Everwild, Eternals fandom, whatever, is calling this thing. But
I'm not sure either.
Monkey thing. I called it a badger
I think it looks like a
thing.
Schnauzer. But like a big Schnauzer with a prehensile tail. A Schnauzer bear squirrel.
I mean, what has a prehensile tail? Monkeys?
That might be it. I mean, me, but they were supposed to cut mine off when I was a baby, and they didn't.
But anyway, this badger monkey, whatever, uses its tail to pull down. I don't know if it's the same tree or if there's just some clever cutting here to like, here's another tree. But it pulls down the tree with its tail, and
this is probably, in my opinion, the most indicative sequence of the whole trailer. Of gameplay potential. First, the drawing the line around the tree thing is actually, it shows hordes of little scaraby beetles trying to get at the tree and then being repelled by the circle of protection. And if you watch in that bird's eye zoom out, you actually see all the other trees around it are dead. So they've saved the last tree, or they have saved a tree from beetles. And in that moment is when the voiceover of the narration of the whole thing says the line, "The symmetry of ritual," as they're doing a little dance and painting, drawing a circle around the ground. Then the very next thing is the opposite of saving a tree. It's Schnauzer bear tearing down a tree at the at the instruction of the Eternals as they guide it. And then what's interesting to me is that he doesn't just like knock it down, like, oh, get this tree out the way. It actually carries it along. We don't know where it's going with that tree or what it's going to do. But one of the earliest little news blurbs about Everwild was written by Andy Robinson on VGC.com.
Hold on. Let me I have some.
Yeah, I know. I've got
here.
mine.
All right.
And he mentioned something about, I don't have the direct quote in front of me, but it was something like there would be light.
God game elements. God game.
As a genre would be like a SimCity type of, anything that allows you to almost in a third person view manipulate the environment. And so having light God game elements, what it says to me, I'm thinking that this is what they're talking about. You're using the animals and your rituals to change the environment. And then you have some reason, we don't know the reason, but you'll have some objective for why you're doing that. Maybe you are trying to restore balance of nature, you're trying to do something that will attract a different kind of, I liken it to, I'm thinking of like Viva Pinata, when it's like, oh, plant this tree to get that creature to show up, and then you can befriend it. Maybe that's what will happen here.
Yeah, maybe you just have to like build a house or a gentleman's club. I don't know. Like, what would you use a tree for? I don't know. But maybe you need that tree to like cross a river or something. I don't know.
Or we dam up a river and it floods and then all the salamanders get to have their mouth babies.
Well, you're jumping ahead now. You're the one who's jumping ahead now. I'm going to slap.
It's hard to stay back with you. You're a miniature Hyle and your legs are so short. I try to take one step and I'm like 10 feet ahead of you.
But talking about lakes or a stream you would have to dam, there is a human character who is then shown floating in it, and it's very like floating on her back, right? She's not dead or anything. Like, it's not like we found a body floating in the lake. This isn't like a true crime novel. This is very peaceful, and then there are these fish that are swimming around her, and so she's just like
I think
nice.
I don't know if this most likely doesn't have a lot or anything to do with the gameplay, but there are multiple moments in this trailer where they just show small moments of peace or quiet reflection. Which I love. I think it's just nailing down a tone and a sort of ethos and spirit of what the game is doing, although not like literally translating to, yes, this is a game where you lay down in a stream and do nothing. That's probably not what it is as a game, but it's a very important part of setting up the tone and mood of the experience.
Yeah, I mean, but it's a game where you could just do that if you wanted.
Maybe.
Yeah. And then we jump ahead to the salamander blobfish birthing babies from its mouth, which was my favorite part of the trailer for numerous reasons, mostly the salamander blobfish birthing babies from its mouth, which I felt was really the best use of a salamander blobfish birthing babies from its mouth in a video game ever.
It's definitely salamander blobfish birthing babies from its mouth of the year 2020.
Sure.
The committee is just so inconsistent, but if it doesn't win, it will be robbed. It will be a crime.
We'll have to wait and see what, if they top it during the presidential debates, because I feel like a salamander blobfish birthing babies from its mouth would be just
Yeah.
the censure, like in the closing statement from.
I do think that this blobfish does look a lot like the president when he's smiling smugly.
Oh, well, they are orange babies, so
They're orange, it's true.
I liken them to goldfish, obviously, because I got some cheap Royston social media likes out of it. But no, this is the weirdest part of the trailer. Like, everything else is very serene and very much keeping with the Eternals and the way they interact with the natural world, and it's very peaceful and reflective, contemplative, and then we have this moment where it's just almost repulsive.
It's entirely unexpected, which is what makes it so good.
Yeah, and that's actually the part of the monologue, the poetic monologue, where they say to look beyond the expected. That's it.
Oh.
So yeah,
that's a good point. It was not expected, and so we don't yet know if those little goldfishes are the babies or if it's another species that it was just munching on. I don't know. He was just so surprised by seeing Eternals. He's like, oh shit, 3 Eternals. And he throws up his lunch. And then they're just like, thank God, we've been saved. We are no longer inside of a blobfish.
My social anxiety was already bad before the pandemic, but now whenever I'm eating and I see people approach me, I tend to spit up my food too. And just run away.
But since you're a vegetarian, the thing that you spit up is not 20 goldfish.
Unless, I need to keep them safe in my mouth, if I'm like ferrying them from one location to another. Sometimes, you see some goldfish and they're like, hey, I would really much rather be in this other pet store. I'm in a Petco, but I would really like to be in a PetSmart. So I'm like, all right, hop in. And I get them across town as quickly as I can. Yeah,
if a fish bowl breaks and the water spills on the ground, the safest place for that fish is inside a human mouth. Because it's going to be...
This is just common sense, right?
Wet, yeah.
Obviously, this was my favorite part. I tweeted about it immediately, so much so that I actually went back in the YouTube live stream just to screenshot it, and then I was like a few minutes behind in the presentation from everyone else, but I didn't really care because I got my salamander blobfish birthing babies from its mouth, and it was worth it. It was worth the sacrifice. What can I say? So then we go from that moment of oddity and just in general upsetting vibes to one of the Eternals carrying an injured little bloom deer in its arms during a storm, and then we see an Eternal. I think they're and maybe I'm misinterpreting this. Were they attaching a light to a moth to create sort of like a firefly?
I couldn't tell if they attached it to the moth or if the moth already was a light creature and they just released it. But it definitely seemed like it was potentially a tool that the Eternal used to like let this thing go, and it will show you the path. And it'll like the light moth immediately flies across some ruins, a broken down wall of ruins, and in doing so, the light illuminates a golden lit cave painting insignia of a deer, presumably a bloom deer.
I presume they're bloom deers.
Yeah.
I mean, it's hard to really tell because it's kind of a cave art / constellation / like spirit energy interpretation of this deer creature. So I think it's supposed to be the same kind of bloom deer, but I don't really know what's happening. And this is all going to be infuriating when somebody goes back to listen to this in 5 years, and this is all secondhand knowledge by that point. This is just all ingrained in what we know. But right now, we don't know. We don't know anything about this game in 2020, July 2020. This is all just a big question mark. So ease up. Jeez.
Relax, guys.
Get off our dick.
Get off my dick. Gosh.
So then we see the Eternals viewing. It's like either a constellation in the night sky or it's spirit energy forming to form the image of a bloom deer, I think, in the night
It's hard
sky.
to see. It's hard to tell what this is forming. The voiceover of the trailer itself at that moment says to stand watch over our world. But then the accessibility audio description video then describes what is happening by saying a giant being is outlined in the sky. And it's kind of forming more detail as the seconds pass. And then it cuts to the next scene before we really see what's happening. But it could be some spirit materializing in the night sky, or it's hard to say what is going on there. But it is a being, according to the description. Mm-hmm. A giant being.
Well, then the money shot of the trailer is they perform this ritual around the alien...
smoking yo-yo scene. I love the smoking yo-yo scene. They're all like walking the dog, and it just summons the spirit of deers to save a baby deer. I love that bit.
Yeah. I was gonna say they perform this spiritual ritual, but yes, it does look like a yo-yo routine when your elementary school invited these professional yo-yoists to the gymnasium to perform yo-yos, which is just a way for Big Yo-Yo to con little kids into buying yo-yos. We've discussed this recently, Jeff.
It's a money laundering scam. It's like they donate their services to the school so they don't have to pay taxes or something. We don't really understand it.
But no, it's like every generation of kids, there's this one weird point when you're right on the cusp of adolescence where Big Yo-Yo tries to make inroads and convince kids that, hey, you know what the hot new fad just around the pike is? Yo-yos. We're gonna sell yo. This might be a uniquely American phenomenon, but Jeff and I have both experienced it, and we're basically a different generation since he's 17 and I'm 75. But it is something that they do. They come in and say, hey, here's yo-yos, and then for like a 3-week period, all your friends are into yo-yos, and you're like, what about video games? And they're like, shut up, grandpa, I'm playing with my yo-yo. And then they realize
they're just like, this chick is called the cat's vagina, and then they just whip yo-yo strings in the air, and then you're just like, dude, how long did it take you to learn to do that one? God.
And then they realize they're getting nothing from this, and they're not feeling more fulfilled in their life. Actually, they're feeling depression for the first time in their young existence, and then they put away the yo-yo. And
I had a yo-yo.
Agree.
I had a yo-yo. I had a yo-yo that was just solid plastic, one color across, just a plastic, one color monotone yo-yo, and all the other kids had these yo-yos that would light up lights, colorful lights when you did the yo-yo. And it was like an electronic digital, yo-yo for the next generation. And I'm sitting here with hand-me-down plain ass yo-yo. And it's like, hey, I want a yo-yo, but I don't want to I'm going to be called out if I try to yo-yo this in public.
I just bear the scars from when my childhood friend Elliot really got into yo-yos for like a month, and he abandoned the Donkey Kong universe because he was like, yo-yos are where it's at, Hyle. Yo-yos are the future.
Everyone was playing yo-yo, and I was like, I want to play yo-yo. So I begged my mom for a yo-yo, and she got me a yo-yo. And then I go to school, and I'm like, hey, guys, I got a yo-yo. And all of them were just like, yo-yos aren't cool anymore. The new thing is doing 2 yo-yos at once. And everyone had 2 yo-yos. And I was like, what? How? I can't do that. I only have the 1 yo-yo.
Yeah, I remember when my middle school banned yo-yos, because the yo-yos were just out of control. So then everybody started just doing heroin instead.
So the Eternals use their yo-yos of smoke. and they put they have traveled. So some of the scenes in the trailer are out of order or not part of the sequence, but there is a through line of sequences where they're kind of traveling to this location. And there's this like Aurora Borealis like energy in the sky, but it's not just random. It is kind of leading them to this location. And the birds are going that way. It's like there's some kind of spiritual epicenter to this spot. and it's like a pedestal, a podium, or like a, I don't know, like a stone clearing thing. They put the injured baby sick deer on it. They do the yo-yo ritual, and it summons a Bloom Deer spirit, or maybe the god of Bloom Deers is just a big being of light shaped like a Bloom Deer, golden, just like the one that was pictured on the ruined wall. And then it kind of pours some energy into the baby Bloom Deer, who gets up and runs away, and he's like, I was kind of hoping and expecting that the trailer was going to go like, they take the baby Bloom Deer to try and fix it up, but then they go into their like RV camper thing, and 2 Tyrannosaurus Rexes try and knock them off a cliff because they're fixing up the baby one. Like the scene from the movie, from the reference. Anyway, it didn't go that way. There was a lot more yo-yos in this scene than there was in Jurassic Park: The Lost World. So
right, and obviously, that's what they should have done. They should have just whipped out more yo-yos, because I think there were only 3 yo-yos in Jurassic Park: The Lost World max. They should have had 4 most. Yo-yos. Yeah. So,
Toby Ziegler was like, "Hey guys, I can do 2 yo-yos at once," and everyone was just like, "That's not your name in this movie. That's your name on The West Wing."
Right. Actually, his name in the Lost World was Yobi Ziegler because of his sick yo-yo skills.
He like walked a dog and everything.
He did. All right. So, what do we make of all of this? What struck me about the Everwild trailer, Jeff? The new Everwild trailer, the Everwild Eternals trailer, if you want to get all fancy with it, is how this was our second trailer. We still don't know really much of anything about how the game plays or what the game is, but tone-wise, I feel like we've got a pretty damn good idea of what it's going for. Like, the first trailer was not a one-off. This is definitely what the game is going to be about. It's going to be about the harmony between human, or in this case, Eternals, and animals, wildlife, and the realm beyond, spirits or whatever. And the balance between the 3, and utilizing the 3 to, like, influence the environment around you. Don't know what the objective of the game is, what the ultimate, progression towards anything is, but we know that's thematically what it is. And what struck me about the trailer was how just calm it is. It is very serene. It is not in any hurry. It is very much the way I feel when I'm out in nature. And when I'm out in nature, I'm not drinking watermelon mojitos.
Hey, man,
you were swilling.
I went on hikes. I went to see rock formations, and I was at Lake Superior, which is cold. The natives call it Gitchigumi, which I think we should have kept that name, but we didn't. Anyway, man, it wasn't all alcohol and marijuana gummies and Oreo sleeves. There was a lot of nature, too.
I just want Oreos. Fuck you, Jeff.
Yeah, I've got them. You can have one after the show. Just ask.
Oh, are you going to feed me with your toes?
Oreos, like, between each toe. I actually could do, like, a yo-yo trick with my toes. And at the same time, I eat an Oreo. It's pretty impressive.
Jeff, what do you think about the Everwild trailer?
What do I think? So I think that I'm totally speculating. I think that when we learn more, when the game is out and we know it and we've played it and we look backwards on this trailer, we're going to say that this trailer was a vague hint, a collection of hints about what the game was going to be without telling you or showing you, because, it's not a gameplay trailer. But I think that there is probably a lot in here that are a analog to what a real gameplay moment will be, but in an abstracted way. So I think we're going to have, for one thing, we can say for sure, this looks like a co-op game. This looks like a game with friends. Which is, we kind of expected always that would be the case, but it seems so obvious now. You can't really, It would be shocking if this was purely single player. It does not feel like there will be any element of combat or PvP. On a high level speaking, probably no PvP, but even more specific than that, I don't think there will be any combat because nobody has a weapon and there's no action. This is like, it's like an action adventure game without the action. It's just an adventure. It's just a game about your place in nature in a non-disruptive way. So I don't see us killing a tiger. You know what I mean? I just don't see it. Nobody has any weapons. There seems to be no conflict at all, really. The conflict is high-level spiritual things. Like maybe there's an imbalance in nature. Maybe there's some corruption to balance out by fixing up the forest. But it doesn't seem like it's about the scarab, combat.
The little insect creatures who might have been harming the forest. Very Hobbit kind of Radagast there with like, oh, there's a sickness in the forest. We've got to dispel it.
And the trick is they don't take their sticks and start smacking beetles and smushing them with their toes. You know, also, the Eternals in the trailer, all of them are barefoot, which pays into our niche demographic here at DK Vine, the foot people. But yeah, they're not smushing scarabs. They are performing a ritual to save the forest. That is kind of, so I think it's going to be a combat light or combatless cooperative game. It might not have any like multiplayer stranger shared world element at all. It seems like it's more like a cooperative but private experience. Although that's just speculation.
Well, you know, Sea of Thieves can get bad enough with the bunny hopping, but it would just destroy me if we had like bunny yak hopping.
That's a good one.
Couldn't handle that. Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah,
that is a good one.
I think you're right. Like and I think this is going to be a hard sell for some people. If there is a game this light in conflict with other players or conflict with the world itself, I feel like it's going to be a hard sell for people. I'm all about it. Like, I think this is great. This is right up my alley because as I was saying, I feel like this is the culmination of a lot of themes in rare games. If Sea of Thieves was where all those pirate references and levels and worlds were heading like for 30 years, it all led to Sea of Thieves, then I feel like Everwild is where all of the pro-nature environmentalism, all of those messages that have been strewn about in rare games for 25 years plus, that this is where all of that has been leading to this game, this definitive statement on our place in the grand ecosystem of the world. And I think a game like that doesn't really require much in the way of human conflict or even like antagonism with enemies. It's more about the world itself and how we interact with it, and not how we master it, but how we become one with it. So I'm really excited to see what the game is really about and how it's going to convey that in a gameplay sense.
Yeah, I think the biggest question mark right now is the degree to which this is a crafted, authored, narrative-driven experience versus the degree to which it is a make your own fun and make your own stories kind of game, and where it lies on a spectrum in the middle of that. Because if this is more of a Breath of the Wild, where it is kind of open world and you can go around and kind of do things at your own pace in whatever order and do, but there is a clear-cut beginning and end and structure and objective? Or is it more like Sea of Thieves when Sea of Thieves launched, where you enter this world and you can explore it and do with it what you want, but there's not much in the way of direction? And that is where I think the biggest divide is of people are kind of like on pins and needles waiting to find out what it is, because there's a large contingent of people that want it to go one way or the other, and maybe they absolutely hate open-ended, make your own fun sandboxes. And if they're that type of person, this trailer did not clear up for them whether Everwild will be that way or not. It didn't answer a lot of the questions. It did kind of specify maybe a little bit about there will be rituals, you'll be able to tame animals, you'll be able to do things with the animals once they're tamed. But in terms of the overall high-level structure of objective, why are we taming the animals? To what end? How much of this is a game I can follow a story versus a game where I just drop in with no direction given and have to figure out what I want to do on my own? And that's the big question mark that we've yet to have answered.
Yeah, but, I think the game is probably a ways off yet. They didn't give any indication of a release date. It's obviously being developed with the Xbox Series X in mind. So
yeah, that showcase on some games like Halo Infinite, after the game, when the logo appeared, it appeared on the screen for Xbox One, Xbox Series X, and Windows PC. And for other games like Everwild, in that showcase, it actually only said Xbox Series X and Windows PC. It did not say that it's being co-developed for Xbox One. So it is probably a couple years out.
Yeah. So, we have a long time to discuss and speculate.
We have a lot of time to dig our toes into it. Wiggle our little toes with our yo-yo toes. Portmanteaus.
This has been a File 2 production.
Que rico.